What is up, enthusiasts? It is Cedar Flags here, and welcome back to another one of my videos. And for everyone watching, this is my first video of 2023. But today, instead of looking into the future, we are going to once again look into the past. This is one of my favorite series to do on my YouTube channel, and it seems to be one of my most popular, my Never Built series. And all of you say I need to keep making these over and over again, and here I am once again. So I say we get right into this thing. From a one-of-a-kind roller coaster to one of the most influential parks in Europe, we are going to look at some of the most incredible never-built creations in the amusement park industry. This is Cedar Flags, and today I will be doing my 7th installment of the Never Built series. Our first stop is a park that has been in the news a lot recently. It is California's Great America in the Bay Area of Northern California. Now, this park has had a very unfortunate past few months. It was bought out by another company, and the park will slowly dismantle and close within the next decade. But as sad as this story was, we like to look back at the legacy this park had and the various owners that own this park, including Paramount. Even know that there has been a weird history of never built attractions at this park, even some that I've talked about earlier in the series. Today we are going to look back to the late 90s when this park was expanding at its most. Paramount just added 2 massive B&M coasters for the time with Flight Deck and Vortex, and for their next coaster they wanted to go big. In fact, they wanted to build a hypercoaster, and at the time, Morgan was sweeping the nation. Though short-lived, Morgan Hypers were very prominent coasters for the late 90s, and they wanted to step on the bandwagon, but wanted to do something unique with their creation. This would be a one-of-a-kind elevator lift coaster. In 1997, they had concepts come out. This ride would be a little over 200 feet tall, start off with an elevator lift, and have a hyper-style layout. And when it comes to the actual layout, there really wasn't that much. It was the elevator lift, a drop, some camelbacks, a turnaround, and even more camelbacks. This ride was less for the layout and more of the elevator lift gimmick. But something that's really interesting about this ride were the many proposed themes. The first one would have been themed after Aftershock. The second one would have been called Alienator, themed after the War on the Worlds movie. The third would be Groovy Train, which would have been themed after the Brady Bunch. And finally, we have Coaster Nervosa, which would have been themed after Frasier. All of these themes would have been very interesting to say the least, and I really do think it is a shame that this roller coaster was never built in the first place. Speaking of Paramount Parks, we have another failed Paramount project. This was actually after the Paramount Parks were sold to Cedar Fair in the mid-2000s. And even though there were a few European plots of land that were looked over, the most prominent was in Murcia, Spain. This was located near the place where they were building an international airport, and they thought that Murcia would become a tourism hotspot. So, they got some investors together and proposed a $1.5 billion park, which would hire 16,000 people. And this project was huge. They were announcing a theme park, a water park, a shopping center similar to City Walk, hotels, and a luxury casino. Luckily, due to some of the concept art, we do know what some of these lands and rides would have been. One of them would have been a Mission Impossible dark ride, which would have been similar to the Spider-Man ride at Islands of Adventure, or the Transformers ride at Universal Parks. There was also going to be a mine train coaster themed after Rango, but most importantly, there was going to be a Blitz-style coaster called Warp Speed. This looks to be very similar to what Velocicoaster is. This definitely would have been the biggest draw for us enthusiasts, and probably the main ride here. The reason this park didn't really make it as far is because the city of Murcia didn't have as big as a tourism outlook as they were expecting, and they really didn't find many investors that would agree with the project. Staying in the same continent of Europe, let's go to the United Kingdom to talk about one of the most influential and probably insane amusement parks out there. This would have been the Battersea. And I'm going to be 100% honest with all of you, with all the news coverage this park made, I'm surprised I haven't talked about it until now. But let's get into it. Basically, there was a power plant that was built in London between 1929 and 1935 known as the Battersea. It was one of the biggest power plants in the city and was actually decommissioned in the early 1980s. You may know this power plant from the Pink Floyd Animals album cover, but anyways, when the power plant closed, many proposals were left with it. Could it be a tourism hotspot What could this place be? John Boom, one of the former directors at Alton Towers, said that this should be something more. In fact, he said it should be an indoor theme park. This was a serious proposal, and it lasted for a while. He made plans for an indoor theme park here, an indoor shopping center, and all of this were using the power plant structure. This would have been downtown London's Alton Towers. The park included a 6-floor shopping center, at least 4 roller coasters around the building, looping or quote-unquote out of the ground, and like I said, this was a massive deal. Millions of dollars were put into the investment, and they invited the current Prime Minister to join in the groundbreaking ceremony. Everything was smooth sailing perfectly, until they realized the logistics of it. It was way too much work and way too much money to repair this old building and turn it into a very unrealistic project. Nowadays, it did reopen, but not as an amusement park, as a leisure center and an observation tower. Not as cool as the original project, but you gotta admit, this looks pretty sweet. Now, for the final part of the video, I want to take a little bit of a different route with this. Instead of talking about a certain project, I want to talk about, let's say, a certain category of never built rides. Not never built, but never rebuilt. Rides that were bought out by other parks, but never built in their parks. The first one I want to talk about is Batman and Robin the Chiller. Now, we all know that this ride existed at Six Flags Great Adventure. It existed there from 1997 to 2007. And this ride was very unreliable, and they wanted nothing to do with the ride anymore at that point. The dueling Premier Rides launch coasters were relocated to Beto Carreiro World in Brazil, and this ride was supposed to reopen in 2014, but unfortunately was never built. A similar story happened with Batman the Escape at Six Flags Astro World. This was an intimate stand-up coaster that operated from 1993 at the park to 2005 when the park shut down. It was going to be relocated to Darien Lake, but once again, this did not end up happening. One of the most popular rides to ever exist at Las Vegas was Speed the Ride. This was another Premier Ride shuttle coaster that existed at the NASCAR Cafe at the Sahara Hotel from 2000 to 2011. Akita Plaza was a small shopping strip, and they were originally going to expand it into a full shopping complex with attractions and rides including Speed the Ride, but of course this did not happen. The most recent example on this list is Green Lantern at Six Flags Magic Mountain, which was going to be relocated to La Ronde as V-Pair. This was an intimate Zaxpin coaster, but due to many complaints and the global pandemic going on, this did not end up getting relocated at all. And finally, we have a maybe. This is Deja Vu, which once was at Six Flags Over Georgia, a giant inverted boomerang made by Vekoma, and this ride has been in storage at the park since 2009. But at Mirabilandia, where it now is, there are rumors that this ride is going to be rebuilt. Now, I don't know how possible it would be, due to this ride being, let's say, a little older, and maybe probably a little decomposed, but maybe this could happen. Let me know what projects I should do for part 8 if I decide to do it. Let me know in the comments below if you would want that. And so, let me know what you thought in general. Did you know about any of these projects? And what did you learn? Anyways, this is Cedar Flags, and I'll see you all later.